Hey guys, this is Randy,
And this is Daniel.
and as we record this, it's Thanksgiving weekend, so we are on a gig vacation.
Yeah, if you listen to the last episode, actually, I don't know what order these will come out, but also, you know what? Happy Thanksgiving. And on Gaming Gig, we're talking about where the Switch fits into current gen gaming.
Yeah, so the Switch is kind of strange in that it's been around for a couple years before the most recent generation of hardware has come out. It came out in 2017, and the PS5 and the Series systems came out in 2020. So we're kind of at the midway cycle of the Switch. And where does it fit in terms of current gen gaming?
Well, to me, it feels a different role, for sure. And I think my redneck came out there for a minute. It feels a different role. But, you know, it being a hybrid system
Yes.
is so versatile. You know, if I'm going to see family for a little while and I think there'll be some downtime or just some awkward moments where I need to play some games, well, you bring the Switch. You know, it's a hybrid system for a reason. So it fills the portable role so well. And I've played Nintendo portables my whole life.
Right.
So there's always going to be a space in my gaming for a Nintendo portable. I'll even play it portable at the house. You know, I'll just sit on the couch and throw on YouTube or Netflix and play WarioWare or Smash or whatever.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, and same thing here. I think that it being a hybrid is key to why it fits in, because one, it's a handheld, but better. You know, you can treat it like it's your handheld console, but then at the same time, it feels more. It feels like it's also your, one of your regular consoles. It feels like it fits right in with the Series X and PS5, in that you can play on your TV and you can, brand new games are coming out that are coming to the Switch, although not as many, but certainly like those Nintendo games. And I look forward to those, just as much as I look forward to the new PlayStation exclusive or the new Xbox exclusive.
Absolutely.
If not more.
If not more.
Right. So it's such a cool system. I think that the novelty of it hasn't worn off on me, and I'm not sure that it ever will.
Yeah, I think it's transcended the level of a gimmick.
Right, yeah. I think it's just become what Nintendo should keep doing.
Yeah.
It just makes so much sense.
It's legit.
And I think that the Switch is, just kind of talking about what you spoke of a minute ago. When I go visit family, like, for example, I was just visiting my mother-in-law out of state. And when we went there, what console did I bring with me? I brought the Switch.
And the DS.
And I brought the DS because I'm playing Spirit Tracks right now too. I about don't go anywhere without bringing the Switch. Pretty much every time I go visit my parents, and they don't even live that far away. If I'm going over there, I bring the Switch, because the whole concept of being able to have this thing that if I want to just lay it down tabletop and hand a controller to my brother and say, hey, let's play this, let's play Mario Kart. Or let's play Mario Party or whatever we want to play. It's so easy to do that. It is so cool for that reason. That's something that the PS5 and the Series X just don't have.
Right. I think it kind of builds on what Nintendo had going with the Wii when it appealed to such a wide audience because the games could be so simple. You had the motion controls, all that stuff.
Right.
I think the Switch still has that for the tabletop reasons that you just mentioned, being able to hand off a Joy-Con.
Yeah.
Play a quick round of Smash, albeit you'd be completely hampered by the Joy-Con, but we'll get into that later.
Yeah.
Mario Kart, whatever. It's very accessible for everybody. I mean, I went to a teacher conference recently with a couple teachers I work with, and I brought my Switch, and I told them that, and they were totally interested in playing Mario Kart. Now, we never ended up finding time to do that, but the fact that these two more veteran teachers than me, who probably don't play as many video games as me, were so interested, that's cool.
Oh yeah, man. I think Nintendo products do that because pretty much anyone has played a Nintendo game and remembers it fondly, even if it was an arcade. At some point, they played a Mario and they remember it fondly. But I think it also appeals to the more hardcore gamers because it fills that gaming space that the dedicated home consoles don't.
Yes.
Yeah.
Absolutely. And you talked about how you don't hardly go anywhere without your Switch. Well, before we kind of lucked into finding our OLEDs, I had picked up a used Switch Lite not too long ago, and I literally don't go anywhere without it because there's a perfect Switch Lite shaped pocket in my backpack, and it just lives there now.
Right. But the Switch in general, like I was just saying, it really appeals to me as a more, more invested gamer, because it has the Nintendo experience, those games that you just can't get anywhere but on Nintendo. But also, the Switch has a lot of games that shouldn't be there that you can take portably, and I still, to this day, get amazed playing some of those games. Like playing The Witcher on Switch is such a cool thing that even 5 years ago, we would have thought impossible.
Absolutely. I mean, I had a moment like that very recently when the Switch Online expansion hit, and I played a little Ocarina of Time. I mean, that's a Nintendo 64 game, right? But I still can't help but be amazed when that we can take such high quality games outside of the house, whether they're old games or new games.
Well, it's just it's just so cool because you have this mindset, or you have this mental image of what it's like to play Ocarina of Time, and it's at a TV.
Yeah.
And once you put it in your hands portably, it just evokes nostalgia, and it kind of hits you with this, I don't know, what would you call it? Like the novelty of just playing it in handheld. And those two things combined is just such a neat experience. And it's something that shouldn't be overlooked, because I think that's paramount to the Switch's success. I think that's a big part of why it's so successful.
Definitely. I mean, I just looked it up, and Ocarina of Time came out in '98. So we can date ourselves here and say we were about 7.
We were.
The 7-year-old in me freaks out that I can play those games on the go.
Absolutely.
Star Fox, Ocarina of Time, doesn't matter. Don't care. It's almost cooler to me than playing something newer like Doom. Right. Because that doesn't freak me out as much. Although
it was cool when Doom came to the Switch.
Yes, it was.
And because it didn't feel like it belonged, but it didn't feel like a handheld game. And I think The Witcher is exactly in the same sort of thing.
Yes.
The cloud games that are coming to Switch don't quite scratch that same itch, because you have to be tied to Wi-Fi.
Yeah, it's a little different. Kind of turns it into a Wii U gamepad.
Yeah, where you could bring it around the house, but you had to be within range. It's the same sort of thing. Yeah, absolutely. Which still had its novelty and its charm.
I thought it was cool at the time.
But it is cool. But the streaming, having to be tied to the internet kind of breaks the allure of the Switch. I think it being on a cartridge. Speaking of cartridges, I'm kind of making a real quick turn here.
No, pivot.
But I thought about it.
Throw down an anchor turn.
That was one of the things that made me most excited about Switch, is that we were going back to cartridges.
Yeah.
I know that seems strange because
we're cartridge kids.
The DS and the 3DS, they use cartridges, and I didn't think anything about it, but they were dedicated handhelds. But this new system, which was going to be sort of this home console handheld hybrid thing, it using cartridges, like that in itself invoked a huge wave of nostalgia for me that made me want to pick up the Switch like as soon as it came out.
Yeah, absolutely. And we've talked about like the GTA trilogy. And how we were so excited that you were going to have those 3 Grand Theft Auto games, not only just on Switch in general, on a Nintendo console, not only that it was going to be a portable Nintendo console, but that it was going to be on a cartridge.
Right, yeah.
And then...
well, I mean, they haven't released it yet, but at the time that we're recording this, it appears that at least, not everything's going to be there. Only one game, maybe.
Yeah, seems like there's going to be a download required, which... isn't a huge deal, but it does kind of deflate me a little bit.
Yeah, because that went from something that I was super excited about to something that probably, honestly, now if I haven't picked up the GTA trilogy because it's got a whole bunch of problems, and I'm going to wait until they resolve some of those problems.
Me too.
But I probably will just pick it up on PS5.
Really?
Yeah.
I'll probably still get it on Switch, but I'll probably just get it digital.
Yeah, it's one of those things that like I might get it on Switch just so I can play it portably, but again, that kind of breaks the charm of what's going on here. I don't think that the Switch, I hope that the next Switch isn't digital only.
Oh, I do too.
Because I think having that physical cartridge to put in there, just for me, and one, I'm a collector, and so are you.
Yeah.
So because I'm a collector, I want to have the cartridge. I want to own the cartridge. I want put it with my collection. Digital games just don't do it for me in that way. So I think that the Switch being cartridge based was a huge thing for me. But then also it just being, we can't ignore that it's a Nintendo system.
Yeah, and we're Nintendo kids.
Both of us
through and through.
Yeah. Both of us grew up, primarily playing Nintendo systems.
Literally from where I'm sitting right now, I can see 7 Nintendo systems.
Right, right. Maybe more. Maybe you miscounted because I can see 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. No, that's 5, 6, 7. Yeah, I see 7 of them.
Yeah, because there's a GameCube hiding down there.
Yeah, there is. Wow. Nintendo offers these experiences that are, really unique, and they're unlike what PlayStation and Xbox is currently offering. And I think that's, honestly, if you just had to boil it down to one thing, that may be the only reason, or one of the biggest reasons, to have a Switch alongside the other, or the more current gen consoles. But also, it being a handheld. I think kind of those two things combined make it almost mandatory if you're a real serious gamer to have a Switch.
Oh yeah.
It just makes a whole lot of sense to me.
And because of it being such a great portable, it's got me interested again in like the Steam Deck coming out and
Right.
all that stuff. Just being able to take such high quality games on the go. It's just something that wasn't always possible. So now that it is, I'm very interested.
Oh yeah. Do you think the Steam Deck would be a product if it wasn't for the Switch?
I don't know. Probably. I mean, it's clearly influenced by the Switch.
Yeah.
Like a lot.
I know a lot of people get upset when people just immediately start associating the Steam Deck with the Switch, or vice versa. Mm-hmm. The Switch has become such an important part of the gaming landscape that I think you have to include it in conversations when you're talking about the Steam Deck.
Yeah, and I do think there have been attempts at making portable gaming PCs before. Mm-hmm. I think I've heard that in my Steam Deck research. But I think there could be an argument made just as reasonably that the Steam Deck isn't really a Switch quote-unquote Pro as it is an Xbox or a PlayStation Portable. Right. Not to say PlayStation Portable because that was an actual thing, but
yeah,
because it's going to be able to play way more than just the Nintendo library and what happens to come to Switch.
Yeah. So kind of getting back on our topic of where Switch fits in the current gaming landscape. Say a game comes out for all the consoles. It comes out for the Series X, PS5, and Switch. Mm-hmm. Do you lean towards picking it up on Switch instead of the other two?
I'm immediately more inclined to pick it up on Switch.
Okay.
But there's a lot of reasons why I wouldn't.
Okay.
For instance, 4K graphics.
Right.
If it's a game that I can see myself wanting to play on the go, and the graphics aren't a huge selling point, I will pick it up on Switch.
So has it happened yet? Has this scenario even come up to where there has been the game on all the consoles and you chose Switch over the other?
Yeah, I did it with the Doom 2016?
Of course, Switch came out later, but you could have picked it up on the others.
Yeah, I did it with Doom for sure. And I thought the graphics looked fun. I've seen comparisons and they clearly would look better on the other systems,
right.
But that's to be expected. The GTA trilogy, it's,
You're leaning towards Switch on that.
I'm leaning towards Switch on that.
Even despite the fact that it's, you're talking about picking up digitally.
Yeah, even though it's digital, I just want to be able to play GTA on a Nintendo system anywhere. I think that just seems really cool. And it, I don't know if it's come up a whole lot other than that. Well, Guardians of the Galaxy is a cloud version on Switch.
It is.
And I just bought that on Xbox.
I think, yeah, and I did too. But I'm not interested in the cloud games. I think of Tony Hawk Pro Skater, the remake.
Yep.
I did not purchase that on Switch.
I didn't
Even though it came out on all of them, I picked it up on PS5. Mm-hmm. And I could have picked it up on Switch, but I looked at the comparisons and I decided,
it looked way better on PlayStation.
Yeah. And it didn't seem like, it did seem like a game that I would want to play handheld, but it seemed like one that I probably wouldn't play that much. So I don't know that it's really happened that much, and it kind of comes down to the Switches. It's kind of in the hardware department, it's well below what the Series X and PlayStation 5 can do. But for those games that do come out, I certainly consider the Switch. And it really just depends. I mean, if it's a game that is not that graphically intensive, especially things like indie games.
Oh yeah, it's great for indie games.
Yeah. I don't think it's really a question. If it's an indie game and it's not that graphically intensive, it just makes so much more sense to pick it up on Switch. Mm-hmm.
I mean, we've been talking about Hades lately because I've played a very small amount of Hades and I'm going to revisit it. And I think you're talking about getting into it eventually. And that's a huge indie game right now. You know, I played Celeste on Switch. I played The Messenger on Switch.
Right.
It's just great for indie games.
And if I was having to purchase Hades, which I don't because it's on Game Pass.
Right.
But if I was having to purchase it, and I might in the future, see if it's one of those games I fall in love with, I want to have a physical copy of it. And if it comes to that and I want to purchase a physical copy, I think I certainly will buy it on Switch.
Yeah.
Because it's one of those games that just I can see it being a game that makes sense on Switch. It makes sense to have it as a handheld. So tell me, now that the Switch OLED's out, and we both have one. We both got one basically at launch.
Yeah.
We got it, like a week later.
On the same day.
We got them on the same day, right. So
made separate trips to the store, but got them on the same day.
We got insider intel that our local GameStop was going to have Switch OLEDs coming in, and they told us when to be there. And so we both went and got one that day. Now that the OLED's here, do you think it increases its value, the Switch's value in today's kind of gaming scene?
Yeah, because an OLED TV is like twice as expensive as our mini LED TVs.
Right.
So if you want to play them on an OLED screen, want to play some games on an OLED screen, yeah. But I mean, it's quite a topic to unpack about whether or not we think it's worth an upgrade and all that. But and we can talk about that. I guess we should.
Yeah, we can. I think we can kind of talk about that because I think that the OLED, it's certainly made me more interested in playing in handheld.
Oh yeah.
Which I think the Switch needed at this time because that kind of enforces what it's good at and where it kind of stands in gaming right now, and that it's a really great handheld. It's the only handheld on the market right now, at least talking about the main consoles. And I think the OLED screen really kind of says, hey, remember guys, this is a great handheld system. And when you're thinking about buying games, having games to play on the go is a huge thing for most people.
And talking about my Switch Lite that stays in my backpack all the time, once I got the OLED, it's very rarely come out of that little zippered pocket.
Right.
I just take the OLED anyway because the screen is so much. I mean, I don't want to say the Switch Lite has a bad screen because it doesn't.
No, it's got a great screen on it.
But the OLED screen is really a step up.
Yeah, it's next level, isn't it?
It really is.
And I think that it's one of those things that's so hard to understand how good it is until you have it in your hands, because no video online is going to show you what it looks like, what it really looks like. Because if you're not watching, a filmed OLED screen does not look like what an OLED screen looks like in person.
Right.
When I got my OLED, I was playing, and I'm sure you were as well, exclusively in handheld just because the screen looks so good. And
I almost still do.
Yeah, and it's so much bigger. It doesn't, like on paper, it doesn't seem like it would be that much bigger, but it's so much bigger.
It is.
Yeah.
And you can get caught up, if you read the paper or read the specs on paper, you can get caught up on, it's not that much bigger. Oh, it's still 720p.
It's got a less pixel density.
Right.
Like you can overthink it.
But I'm telling you, unless you just really nitpick it and try to be some sort of screen snob, it's a great screen.
Oh yeah, man. Here's another thing, was it worth the $350? Well, personally, I traded my Gen 1 Switch into GameStop for $260. So it was only a $90 upgrade. Okay, $100 with taxes for the upgrade. I felt like it was personally worth it to me.
Yeah.
If I was having to pay $350, I probably wouldn't have done it. I think I certainly wouldn't have done it.
Well, if you had, I think what you're saying is if you had a Gen 1 Switch and you were going to keep it,
right?
Would you drop $350? Maybe no.
Yeah, but if it was my first Switch, oh yeah,
it's a no-brainer.
It's a no-brainer. $50 extra. It's so much better.
Yes.
The kickstand's better.
Oh, the kickstand's way better.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, we both in some ways, got some money out of our Gen 1 Switches. I did it a little different way than you did, but
you sold yours to a friend.
I sold it. Yeah, I sold it to a friend. But yeah, I mean, to me, it's been worth it. But I'm kind of into that stuff, So if you're a little more casual and you already have a Gen 1 Switch, maybe not. And if you're never going to play in handheld, definitely not.
Do you think that the Switch suffers because it's not able to run the, newest games without them being cloud versions?
I think some people would say it does. And I think you could definitely make that argument. I think it has so much else going for it really doesn't bother me. But I also already have a PlayStation and an Xbox,
Right.
so it's like a non-issue for me.
Right. If it was your only system, that might be different.
It would be different. And for me, being such a dedicated Nintendo fan forever, and it having this franchise on it that's been with me my entire life called Super Smash Brothers, if I still had to pick one and I could only play Switch, I would.
You would, if you're saying if you could only pick one of your systems to keep over the Xbox, PS5, Switch, you would just keep the Switch.
Yes, and I think I probably jumped to a big point we were probably going to get to later, but yes, I'm going to double down on that, absolutely.
Yeah, I think I agree with you too, because when I think about the gaming experiences that mean the most to me, one, just the Nintendo games in general that I love so much, but I think about, like, me and my wife, we play games every night together, and
So wholesome.
And I'd say the majority of them, not all of them, but the majority of them are probably Switch games, because the types of games we enjoy playing, co-op, fun, light games that we're playing together, they're normally on Switch.
Little bite-sized games. You don't have to spend hours and hours on at a time.
Right.
Yeah.
And so we play a bunch of our games on Switch. That to me is what gaming is all about. It's all about, this form of entertainment that you can't get from other forms of media, And I think the Switch does such a good job of capturing that. To me, it is the most important gaming system to me right now, even though it's, a few years dated and it's certainly lacking in terms of specs. It still does the thing that I want out of gaming the best.
Yeah. And I think the Switch both kind of reinvigorated our love of gaming in general.
It did.
I know you had gotten quite a bit out of it before the Switch, and the only thing I was still playing was maybe Gears and Smash.
I had pretty much entirely gotten out of gaming
Yeah.
before the Switch. And the Switch really brought me back. Yeah, 100%.
Yeah, and maybe that's just our bias showing, but I don't think we can overlook that.
No, I mean, you can't deny how important the system is to you. Even if it is a biased opinion, it's still the truth,
That's right.
Yeah, and we've kind of touched on all the things that make the Switch an important part of our, gaming, or sorry, not even just us, but just a part of the gaming landscape right now. Where does it fit in current gen? Well, it has its own role that is so important, and it's so unique and different from the others that.
Yep. And it's the only one that can fill that role.
And it is right now. It certainly is.
But Randy, it can't play in 4K.
No, it can't. It can't play in 4K. No, but that's probably should be a topic on its own.
That really doesn't bother me.
No, it's not about the resolution, is it?
No, it's not. I was playing devil's advocate.
Yeah, that's like, I'm also right now currently playing Spirit Tracks on DS, and that's a game that I don't even know.
Well, that's in 4K though.
I don't know what resolution the DS is, but it's low, and but it's the experience. It's the Nintendo experience, and it's such a, I don't even hardly know how to describe it besides saying you have to play a few Nintendo games to really understand it.
Yeah, and I don't know that it's required to grow up with them, but it certainly helps.
I don't think it is, because, like, take my wife. She hadn't gamed at all, and then the Switch comes around, and we get the Switch, and she starts playing Breath of the Wild, and I mean, now she plays games every day. So the Switch single-handedly turned her into a gamer of sorts. So I don't think if we had gotten if I'd thrown her on a PS4 or something, I don't think it would have done the same thing.
Probably not. It's a little more intimidating.
It certainly is. I mean, I've tried to get her to play The Witcher, for example. Like, I've tried to get her to play that game, but she's played Mario Odyssey probably 2 or 3 times through.
What a great game.
She's played 3D World multiple times.
Great game.
She's played Breath of the Wild multiple times. So I mean, those types of games are just so good for everyone, I think, for the hardcore gamers and for the casual gamers. And I think Nintendo's the only one right now who can really strike that balance.
Yeah, definitely.
And the Switch is perfect for it. It being, the hybrid system.
Yeah, and this, on a semi-related note about Nintendo striking that balance, I always think about Super Smash Brothers even when I'm not. And Nintendo has struggled with how much people still want to play Melee. You know, over the years, it's almost like at times they've just almost wished Melee wasn't there. It's the way it's felt.
Right.
But I just heard recently that Nintendo is, I don't know if sponsoring is the right word, but they're somehow involved in a Smash tournament, and there's going to be Smash Ultimate and Melee at the tournament.
I know, I heard that. I don't know what Nintendo's involvement is besides them just giving them the okay to do it.
Right.
But even the fact that they did that, you know, maybe they're finally listening, because I know that.
That is so cool.
Because maybe they're finally like, okay, this game's like 20 years old, so maybe we can finally be okay with people wanting to play it instead of, and also Ultimate being kind of finished, it's kind of wrapped up. Mm-hmm. Maybe they're finally okay with Melee getting, you know, some shine.
Yeah.
Instead of feeling like all the attention has to be on the most, you know, current game, which I think they tend to do.
Oh, definitely. And Ultimate is so good. Maybe they're just finally secure enough in the current game that it's okay to talk about the old game.
Yeah, Ultimate, I think we're finally at the point where it was like, after Melee, all the, you know, the Smash games after that, everyone was always like, okay, you know, it's okay, but it's not Melee. But I think Ultimate's the first Smash game that I can remember where I haven't heard a whole lot of that, if any. I feel like people like Ultimate.
Yeah.
You know, you would know way better than me.
Yeah, I love Ultimate.
And this certainly can and should be a topic that we talk about later, is Smash in general.
For sure. You could probably twist my arm into that.
Yeah, I'm sure I could. But to kind of finish up, you know, talking about the Switch and where it's at, I just want to kind of go back and recap. You know, the Switch, it has its own space. It has its own types of games that don't make a whole lot of sense on other consoles, or at least wouldn't feel right. It really has its market down.
Absolutely. Mm-hmm. And we didn't talk about price.
We didn't.
Well, we did a little with the upgrade to the OLED, but you know, you can get a Series S for $300, and you can get a Switch for $300 or $350,
or $200 if you go for the Switch Lite.
Right. So that is something to maybe consider if you're trying to be extremely budget conscious, because they're both great values, but Switch is portable.
I'm always confused when I talk to people who are not interested in having a Switch.
I try to not be around those people.
Well, the people who are not interested in it, I think like they must. I think that they just haven't played the games. They haven't.
I think
played
they're
the
hiding
Nintendo
something.
games.
I think they've got something bigger that they're trying to hide. So they're deflecting. That'd be my guess. You probably don't want to spend a whole lot of time around those people. Might be implicated in some sort of crime.
I hope that our audience understands your sense of humor, or starts to, you know, get when you're joking, when you're not, because you have a very dry sense of humor.
I don't know what you're talking about. I'm being dead serious.
Maybe if I just laugh when I know that you're making a joke, it'll let other people know they need to laugh along.
Yes. We'll just start including laugh cues.
Yeah. Because otherwise...
A laugh track. We could do a laugh track like an old sitcom.
Yeah, those have always gone over well.
Yeah.
People love laugh tracks now.
Man.
All right. Well, I think we're finished. I think we can wrap up our Switch conversation here. So until next time, guys, I'm Randy.
And I'm Daniel.
And this has been Gaming Gig.
Peace out.